all that they need. Give to the Lord all the glory. Give to him all he is due. Worship the Lord in splendor. Worship in spirit and truth. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. his mighty word. Spread it among the nations. The Lord is the one who reigns. The heavens rejoice, the whole earth is glad at the sounding of his holy name. Through creatures that fill the ocean, Worship the Lord in splendor, worship in spirit and truth. Sing to the Lord a new song, sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bring praise to his name, sing of his mighty word. Marvelous are all his deeds. He blesses all those who call on his name. He blesses
In case you won't,
all that they need.
in case you won't,
Lord, all the
in
glory.
case you won't.
Give to him all he
Just
is
in
due.
case that
Worship
you
the
want one.
Lord in splendor. Worship in spirit and
Let's see if I got that thing right. If you want to follow along.
Lord, a new song. Sing to the
Oh, you got one, huh? You want one? I know David's got one. He took 2 of them earlier. Yeah, I know. See, I tried to open it sometime myself. Oh. I did the music tonight primarily so that y'all would learn to appreciate Susan Davis. I like to get in those old spiritual songs because they say so much. Yeah. Yeah, the young folks don't because, you know, that music died before they were even conceived. But it's lasted through the ages. Ta-da! So let's see, I think we're in Daniel chapter 15, right? Yeah, duh. You know what? I just realized I made copies for y'all, but I didn't keep mine for me. That's you, Judy. That's Susan Davis. Put the volume down. What? iCloud. Well, answer him one day and say, would you please stop calling me? Huh? Oh. Block them. Judy? They got a number they called from? All right, block the number. Wait. Too many people talking at the same time. What'd you say, Susan? Wait, but it won't come in. It won't come through. Oh, yeah, they'll do that. That's true. They don't use the same number every time they call. They're all scam calls. Well, you can answer and speak in tongues. Meanwhile, back in Daniel, I just realized, I'm trying to think, what do I got a microphone on for? I realize we're on camera, right? I guess we streaming, aren't we? Chapter 7. Judy asked for notes this time because she couldn't follow me last time. We couldn't follow me because I wasn't talking about Daniel most of the time. But this time I'm going to talk about Daniel. All right. In the first year, chapter 7, verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream. Oh, y'all ever have one of those? And visions of his head while on his bed. Then he wrote down the dream, telling the main facts. Understand, now I told you this book is not chronological. This occurred, this that we're writing in chapter 7, occurred 10 years before the events of chapter 5, when the handwriting was on the wall for Belshazzar and Babylon was overthrown by the Medes and the Persians. When you read Daniel, you got to read it a bunch of times before it starts becoming relative to you. That when you read a part like where Belshazzar saw the handwriting on the wall, that Daniel had already seen these visions and knew that the Medes and Persians would take over that nation 10 years before that happened. Makes a difference when you read it, you realize that, and you think, whoa, no wonder he told him exactly what it said. Zonk. Anyway, Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. Now, y'all, when you read that, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? You think the ocean, right? And while there's some people that says it could possibly be the sea, it actually most of the time means people, nations. Stirring up, the winds were stirring up within people to raise up these kings. And another thing you need to understand, if you follow this closely, you'll catch it at the end. All of the Old Testament, God is dealing with nations. When he talks about a king, he means an empire or a nation. He talks about the Medo-Persian Empire. He says the king. It's not a king. There were several kings. Babylon was not a king. Babylon was several kings. So was Greece. And so was Rome. But in the Old Testament, God always deals with nations. Very important. Might make sense to you if we get through all of this. Might be able to clear that up for you. If you got a question, don't hesitate to stop me. I forgot to put this out, but it's turned on the mixing board if you got a question. All right. Yeah, it could imply water to sea, but more likely represents people, the sea of humanity, if you will. In this book, as many others, Revelations, for example, the sea means people or mankind. Okay? And verse 3, and four great beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings, and I watched till its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Now, the first beast represents Babylon. The wings being plucked off indicate the humbling, if you will, of Nebuchadnezzar. Remember what happened to Nebuchadnezzar? He had a dream that he cut the tree down and the king was sent out to eat grass like a cow, and that happened to him because he let his pride get to him and he was humbled. The plucking of the wings was the humbling of the king. He went out for, it says 7 times passed over him. We don't know if it means 7 days or 7 years. Whatever it means, when he came to his senses and realized that God had the power, he was lifted up again and put back in his kingdom in his position, which is the standing up and having a heart like a man. Huh? Yeah, the first one's Babylon. That's what the first beast is, Babylon. And suddenly another beast, the second, like a bear. It was raised up on one side and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And they said thus to it, arise, devour much. What do you think that was? Huh? I can't hear him.
He said the ribs represent women.
It represents the Medes and the Persians. Okay? Okay, the bear represents the empire of the Medes and the Persians, or what became the Medo-Persian Empire. It being raised on one side indicates that the Persians would gain preeminence over the Medes. When they took over the country, the first 2 kings were Medes. They weren't Persians. It was a Mede that released the Jews back to Jerusalem. Cyrus. That was prophesied by Isaiah 750 years before it happened. That Cyrus, the king, would release the Jews from captivity. So the first 2 kings were Medes. Daniel served under those 2. Daniel wasn't there when the Persians took over. So that's what the rising up on one side for. The 3 bones in its mouth represent the 3 major conquests of the Medes and the Persians: Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. The devouring much was because they were very fierce and they destroyed a lot of people in their conquest, which is not unusual. That was very common for the day. Verse 6, after this I looked, and there was another, like a leopard, which had on his back 4 wings of a bird. The beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Take a guess who that was? Alexander the Great. That was the Greek Empire. The wings on its back indicated the speed at which they conquered. If you study history, don't go get the book out of the school system, for God's sake, because you're never going to get anywhere close to the truth. Go find the oldest book you can find so you can get some truth out of it. There are 2 things very unique to Alexander the Great. He conquered faster than anybody else before him. And he was the most benevolent conqueror that there ever was, which is the reason that the Greek culture pretty close to controlled society throughout that part of the world, because they adopted his culture because he was so good to them. The only people he was not good to, and I said this many times, were the Medes and Persians. Because there's the Persian king Xerxes who went out there and slaughtered the Spartans. If you ever saw those movies. And Alexander was a young man when that happened. And when he conquered the Medo-Persian Empire, he was very fierce. That's the only time he was. The 4 heads, the reason it had 4 heads is he was a very young man when he conquered everything. The reason he didn't conquer more than he did, he was going into India, and his generals had enough. They didn't want to fight anymore. They were fed up. So he couldn't go in and conquer anything without his army. He probably would have discovered China because he was moving that fast and he was that successful. But when they did that, he had nothing left to look forward to. That was his whole life. He died very young, literally about drank himself to death. And his kingdom didn't go to his sons. It went to his 4 generals. That's why the 4 heads are there. Because that empire, which lasted for quite a while, was under the control of 4 different generals, and it controlled in 4 different parts of the world. Syria, which was where Babylon had been, Egypt, Greece, and somewhere around Macedonia, I don't remember exactly where the other one was, in between the two. But anyway, the main two that we're going to look at in Daniel, not this chapter, but later on, is the most confusing chapter you will ever read in the book of Daniel. And that is the kings, two of those generals, the one from Syria and the one from Egypt, and what it did to Israel. And unfortunately, the books that deal with that are not in your Bible. They're in the Catholic Bible, however. It's called the books of Maccabees. That's the history of the Greek Empire as it affected Israel. Anyway, this very young age, Alexander, God bless you, Chef. Alexander was like almost like George Washington. There are recorded accounts in the French and Indian War, when the British still controlled the colonies. The chief of one of the tribes that was attacking told his warriors to shoot only at the man on the horse with the funny coat. And that was Washington. Because they wanted to kill him, kill the leader. Because he would always go in front of his men. George Washington did. And at the end of the battle, when he took that coat off, there were 3 bullet holes in his coat. But he was never wounded. Alexander was kind of like George Washington in that he thought he was invincible, and he always went out in front of his army. He didn't stand up on the hillside and send his soldiers in. He was in front of them. But he never was wounded. But anyway, Alexander was if you like to study history, he's a good one to study because it's very interesting, some of the things he accomplished that you wouldn't think an army would do. Certainly not an army that walks on foot and doesn't have any better weapons than they had. But it's amazing. I'm not going any more of that though. But so that was so that was chapter 5, right? So we got to go to verse 7 now, huh? Yeah, we just did verse 6. Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue with its feet. Now, boy, it don't take long for you to assume who that is, right? However, there are people who believe that it does not mean Rome. I'm going to tell you this is a side road, that's all, because I'm going with the more common belief because I think it explains itself further in the chapter. But some people believe that the first one was Babylon, the second one was Medes, the third one was the Persian Empire, and the fourth one was actually Alexander and Greece. I don't believe that. I believe the fourth one is obviously Rome, because Rome is the one that's depicted as of iron. And it was horrible. Although those interpret beasts, I'll tell you that, yeah. But the fourth, especially as we read its description, we'll see that it can only be Rome. Right? It was different from all the beasts that were before it and had 10 horns. I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, coming up out of them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. And there, in this horn, were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words. This is Daniel chapter 7, right? Verses, yes, yeah. Where did you ever hear this before? Gee, let me see. See, here's the description of the beast. That's why I know it's Rome. Listen to this passage. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And on his horns were 10 crowns, and on his heads were blasphemous names. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him power, his throne, and great authority. And if you continue reading in the 13th chapter of the book of Revelation, you will see that another horn grew out, and 3 of them were replaced by it. It was filled with eyes. That's the Antichrist. That's why Daniel got a glimpse of every empire that would come upon the earth, up to and including the Antichrist. Okay? We tracking? Questions? In this passage, we know it reflects the Antichrist. We also know that it speaks of the Roman Empire and its kings with the rise of the Antichrist as it removes the 3 to become 1. Here we see Daniel's vision in the 4 beasts taking the reader all the way to the end times, while the prophecy tells us of the Medes, the Persians, the Greeks, which would surely come upon the earth many years before the end times. With the 4th beast, it quickly moves to the end. Understand what I'm saying. First beast was the Babylonian Empire. Babylonian Empire lasted for 70 years, 75, 80, but less than 100 years. Then the Medo-Persian Empire. Then the Greek Empire. Then the Roman Empire. What happened after the Roman Empire? Where is the Roman Empire today? It's gone. Well, wait a minute. Daniel's vision showed the Roman Empire all the way to the rise of the Antichrist. That don't strike you? What's in between? Ah, huh? Emma, what? Communism? He didn't give him any other empire. He didn't tell him any other king or any other empire. Not one. And every prophecy in every book that speaks of those kingdoms stop at Rome. Nobody mentions any other empire. Not the Germans, not the Russians, not communism, not China, nothing. Only the Roman Empire, and that's where they stop. What's wrong? Oh, it's too cold?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Still cold.
We move quickly to the end. Okay, I'm going to speculate on this. I want you to track with me, okay? Why a prophecy showing all the coming empires and kingdoms that would dominate the earth, but move immediately into the last days without any mention at all of other events in human history which occurred in between? That's my question. Why is none of the prophecy mentioning anything that happened after the Roman Empire? I had to guess. God depicts the world as it was and would be without Christ. The period of time between the birth and death of our Savior and the beginning of the end of days are coming to the Antichrist, or the days of God's mercy and his offering of salvation to his creation. We tracking? That's the only thing that's conceivable why God leaves that gap. Because the time of Christ to the time of the second coming is a dispensation of grace and mercy. There ain't going to be no mercy when the Antichrist comes, yeah. It's over. So it's very significant. I even added, seek the Lord while he may be found. At the end of days, there will be no mercy. Isaiah wrote seek the Lord while he may be found. That's 1,000 years. That's over 1,000 years before Christ. And Isaiah wrote those words. We in the time where you can seek the Lord, you can have him and give your life to him. Oh, I'd give my, it hurts me inside, so I want to see people just pour themselves out to the Lord so bad that nothing can take preeminence over him. Anyway, questions, comments, shoes to throw? What? Oh, it makes sense. Well, we're going to get into a little more of that later. I watched till thrones were put in place. Now this is Daniel. He's still looking at his vision. After he saw this, he didn't know it was the Antichrist. He watched until thrones were put in place and the Ancient of Days was seated. Do you have any idea who the Ancient of Days was? That's the Father. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame. Its wheels were burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Now think about the visions of the throne of God. The wheels, the fire, always fire at the base, and a stream of fire going before him, as shooting out from him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him, but 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated. Yes, ma'am. Oh. And the books were opened. Obviously, the throne of God makes this the end of days. Judgment day, if you will. Okay? But there's some things about it that could be somewhat confusing, because Jesus is the one who comes to Armageddon, not the Father. And this doesn't say anything here about the Father judging, does it? No. It just said the books were opened. This is not the great white throne of judgment. That doesn't show up until after the millennium. Okay? I want to keep you in line and on track with the end of days and this vision. Is this making any sense? Okay. All right, let's get back to Daniel 11 and 12. I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. Now, there's the throne of God. There's 10,000 times 10,000. There's 1,000 times 1,000 ministering to God. There's fire all around him. But he hears the pompous words that the horn is speaking. What you got to understand, when you say something against God, you're saying it in his presence. Boy, that'll bite you the next time you slip up and say something you wish to God you hadn't said. I watched till the beast was slain. Remember who the beast is? Y'all remember who the beast is? Huh? The one we're talking about. Which one's got the horn with the pompous words? Rome, the beast, the Antichrist. I watched till the beast was slain and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. Book of Revelation says that the Antichrist and the false prophet were thrown into the lake of fire. Didn't say anybody else was thrown into the lake of fire. Just the beast and the false prophet were thrown into the lake of fire. Okay? Oh, these people that are in hell right now. Well, according to what it says in the book of Revelation, ain't nobody there yet. God might let some of them see what it's like, but they haven't gone to the white throne of judgment yet. But the Antichrist and the false prophet will be thrown, and not the devil. Okay. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. That one confuses me. But I take it to mean that God did not destroy everyone on the earth, even at Armageddon. Okay, here's my comments about it. God has dominion over all the powers of the earth. Here we say that the beast is killed, that is the little horn with pompous words. The other beasts were not killed, and no mention of the second beast of Revelation, the false religion. That's not mentioned in here at all. This vision would indicate that God will not destroy all the nations at Armageddon, only the Antichrist. He only will be cast into the lake of fire. Of course, the great white throne of judgment will not be mentioned, where the dead are judged and cast into the lake of fire. That occurs after the 1,000-year reign. So at Armageddon, it's Jesus that destroys the Antichrist. I mean, he probably destroys the army that's at Armageddon with him, because he said, I'm going to give you flesh, all the birds to come on and gather to eat flesh of kings. But their nations, their empires will not be destroyed. These people will still live. There will be people living on the earth under Jesus' reign. Okay? That's why when the devil is released 1,000 years later, he convinces the nations to attack Jesus. Okay, let's get back to the vision. I was watching in the vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man. He don't know what a Son of Man is. He don't know what the Son of God is. All he knows is he looks like the Son of Man. He's almost saying something similar to what Nebuchadnezzar said when he saw that guy walking around with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire. He saw one that looked like that coming with the clouds of heaven. Who comes on a cloud of heaven? Jesus. When does Jesus come on a cloud of heaven? He comes to pick up his church and to destroy evil. Okay? Behold, I saw a man come on the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Then to him was given dominion and glory and the kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages would serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom the one which shall not be destroyed. That's Jesus. Of course it's Jesus. The details of all this end time stuff is not given to Daniel because he's confused already. It's cleared up when Jesus gives the vision to John. And understand, while I'm saying that, I want you to understand this because most people miss this point. It's called the book of Revelation. Whose revelation? Anybody? Want to tell me whose revelation it is? It's Jesus. It's the revelation of Jesus. Understand this. Until he was given that revelation, he didn't know God's plan. What did he tell the apostles when they asked him, when will this be and what will be the sign of your coming? No one knows but the Father only, not even the angels in heaven. Jesus didn't either. Jesus was given that revelation, and he shared that revelation with John. Yeah. And he shared it with me. Anyway, just a little tidbit. I like those little serendipities. Of course, this of course is Jesus the Messiah being given a final and eternal reign upon the earth. This would indicate the beginning of the 1,000-year reign, Christ, when all will serve him. That includes those who were trying to destroy the earth and have the one world system and all that. That will still be living upon the earth while Jesus reigns. Kind of amazes the life out of me if the people who have, if the raptured church remains or comes back to the earth for the 1,000-year reign, because this is something that I don't get clearly in my mind or heart at all, whether we will or whether we'll be in heaven for that 1,000 years. Because if we do live upon the earth during the 1,000-year reign, and the rest of the world that is not converted to Christ sees us and witnesses us for 1,000 years, not growing older, not being sick, not dying, how could they possibly be fooled by the devil?
That's the question.
So we may not be here. We may be in heaven with God the Father while Jesus reigns on the earth. Remember, there's a lot of people who swear their interpretation of the scriptures, and whenever I teach Revelation, I teach theirs too, is that this pertains primarily to the Jews. Jesus will reign in Jerusalem with the Jews. You know, the ones that are most hated on the earth, right? Boy, you talking about, that's Jesus doing that to them. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't received any revelation on that as to whether or not we'll be with Jesus on the earth or whether we'll be in heaven. I know when it wouldn't mess up Daniel. When we read about the New Jerusalem coming down after the great white throne of judgment, and the angel says, come on, I want to show you the bride of Christ. I want to show you Christ's bride. And he sees the New Jerusalem. That's what I meant when David Brown called me up one day. Oh, I'm confused. All my life I've been saying that the church is the bride of Christ. And I just read in Revelation that the angel said that the New Jerusalem is the bride of Christ. I said, what is the New Jerusalem for and who is in it? The church. Therefore, this is the bride of Christ. These are all the people who were saved, living in heaven with the Father, coming down to the earth in the New Jerusalem. Which would lead me to believe we won't necessarily be here for the millennial reign until that's over and New Jerusalem comes to the earth. And then it'll be a new heaven and a new earth.
We won't judge angels until after the second
No.
thunder, right?
No, I'll be so tickled. The only angels that'll be around to judge are the ones that are condemned. The angels still in heaven, how in the world can we judge them? They're not doing anything wrong. I don't, nothing anywhere in the scripture explains what the judgment of angels really means.
Oh, they thought it was the fallen angels of the second thunder.
Yeah. They're being held in chains right now. Yeah. Okay, verse 15. Yeah. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit within my body, and the vision of my head troubled me. I came near to the one of those who stood by and asked the truth of all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are four kings which will arise out of the earth. 4 kings. That's 4 kingdoms or 4 empires, okay? But the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. Forever and ever. In other words, he cuts right to the chase. These are the 4 kingdoms, but the children of God are going to possess. Then I wish to know the truth about the 4th beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, with its teeth of iron and its nails of bronze, which devoured and broke in pieces and trampled the residue with its feet, and the 10 horns that were on his head, and the other horn which came up before the 3 fell, namely that horn which had eyes and a mouth which spoke pompous words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows. I was watching, and the same horn was making war against the saints and prevailing against them until the Ancient of Days came, and a judgment was made in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom.
Slow down, man. You taking that up over here.
Well, he's trying to say what he said. This is what's bugging him. Once again, speculating on this, Daniel's dream was in part messianic, announcing that the Messiah's coming will inaugurate a new phase of God's rule on earth. Christ did this by, remember when I told you the separation of this period of grace? I pulled this out of a commentary. Christ did this by bringing the kingdom of God into human experience that never existed before. You understand what that means? Not really, huh?
There's a lot of information.
Here's what you understood. I'm a Jew. I go in the temple. I'm outside across the street. I can't come in here. Only the priest can come in here. Only the priest can come in here, but only the high priest can get up here. You ain't a high priest, you go up there, you die. You ain't a priest, you come in here, you die. You ain't a Levite, you come on the porch, you die. You're standing outside on the street. I know God because the priest tells me what the scripture says about God. That's why I know him. That's my understanding of God. I understand that God created the nation of Israel as his chosen people, but he created the whole earth. I don't know him. I don't have knowledge of him, intimacy with him. I don't see, feel, or know his presence around me. Because God is dealing with the nation of Israel and the people through the priests. It's not like that with us. When Jesus died, the veil was torn. That ended all of that. When you understand the meaning of that torn veil, now you have access to God just like Adam did in the Garden of Eden. You can get into his presence anytime. He's always there. I love that song. You don't hear it too much anymore. He was there all the time, waiting patiently in line. Huh? That's the difference. He brought the experience of God on the human level and put us back where we were with our Father. They didn't have that before. That's the period that we're living in. Now, a God who did this, there's no God worshipped on the earth save ours that died for his creation. All the other ones, you got to die for him. If you're a Muslim, you got to die trying to kill an unbeliever so you can have 70 virgins. I don't know what you're going to do with them because you don't get married in heaven according to God. So you ain't going to be able to do nothing with 70 virgins. And if that's heaven for the man who died, what's heaven for the women? Oh, I'm so excited I get to share this man with 70 other ladies. Oh, wow. Where's heaven for them? No. Do you understand the dramatic change that occurred in Christ? That's why we don't have to worry about all the kingdoms that occurred before that. In between, don't matter. It only matters that when we reach the point where the Antichrist converts the rest of the world that will not accept Jesus, that God has done so much for his creation, and they reject him anyway, like they do today. He's long-suffering, but he's not forever suffering. It will come to an end. He will have enough. And he'll put an end to this. And can't make people understand soon enough that the time is running short. And you better make a decision and serve the Lord. Yeah. Because it is going to come to an end. And when you get to the great white throne of judgment, I got some bad news for you. If you go to that throne, it's up. You're already up the creek.
Being judged by the
Yeah.
law.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah, okay, I read that. Okay. Well, look, I'm almost finished.
You ain't done yet.
That's because I'm reading so fast.
All you need to slow down.
Took me longer to write this than it did to read it, I'll guarantee you that.
I appreciate this.
Thus he said, thus who said? Thus the angel said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms and shall devour the whole earth, trample it and break it in pieces. The 10 horns are 10 kings, who shall arise from this kingdom, and another shall arise after them. He shall be different from the first ones, and shall subdue 3 kings. I can't tell you how this scenario will work out, but I see in my mind 3 people will gain kingship, leadership, dominion, whatever you want to call it, over very large parts of the world. These 3 will be of the Roman Empire descent, part of that Roman Empire. And this one that comes in and destroys or breaks these 3 kings will be the Antichrist, who will then have total dominion worldwide. He shall speak. Now, understand, if you read the book of Revelation, understand the book of Revelations, he's going to come in under stealth, bringing peace on the earth, what everybody wants. The Jews and the Muslims will sit down together. Yeah. LGBTQs will quit putting it in your face. Everybody will be peaceful. Hey, this is what we want. That's what we want. We want this man. Yeah, yeah. Then, after 3.5 years, he shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and law. That by itself, to me, is worthy of a deep study. The changing of times. Law I can understand. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and a half time. That's 3.5 years. But the court shall be seated. Remember the court? Huh? Yeah. And they shall take away his dominion, to consume and destroy it forever. Then the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven shall be given to the people, the saints of the Most High. The kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. This is the end of the account. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts are greatly troubled, and my countenance changed, but I kept the matter in my heart. My only comment about this is, yay, we win. That's my answer to all this stuff that goes on in the world. I read the book. We win. I don't know what we may have to go through in the process of it, but we win. I saw somebody the other day. I can't remember exactly how it was. How many Americans died on the beaches at the Normandy invasion? I think it's something like 52,000. It's an ungodly number of people. And somebody wrote something that those Americans didn't die on the beach at Omaha. That never happened. And it amazes me that people actually believe that this never happened. I don't think it's taught deeply enough in school. You want to appreciate what Jesus did, you need to know the story of the crucifixion.
We were fortunate enough to read his own.
Yeah,
My dad
yeah,
was in Germany.
yeah, he was there.
that day.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate enough to have relatives who, I was born during the war,
Yeah.
so I know it happened. The Holocaust was real. I know it happened. But to actually get to a place where we believe, you would not appreciate Jesus Christ at all if you've never understood what happened for the crucifixion and what he did and how he gave his life willingly. If you don't understand that, how can you appreciate your salvation? If you don't understand the sacrifice people made for you to have freedom in this country, and to stand up and blatantly make comments that you hate this nation, it's blasphemous. I'll never celebrate the 4th of July again. Get and leave. Go celebrate something else from some other country instead. People's blood bought you this freedom. Just like Jesus' blood bought you salvation. And you ought to thank God every chance you get for that. And every time you see a veteran, you ought to thank them for their service. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the freedom we have. You cannot find me anywhere in history, I dare you, find me any nation in history that has existed for 250 years and have never been invaded on their land. None. Only this one. We're the only ones. Oh, but we're terrible people. If you're white, you should feel guilty. If you don't feel guilty, you're racist. Well, if you're white or black and you don't feel guilty because of the Indians, you're racist. Humbug. Can't condone what's wrong, can't condone the things that were wrong, but ultimately everything moved toward the better good of everybody if they're willing to accept it and use it. My ancestors were treated pathetically bad when they came to South Louisiana. You ought to go read that history. They were treated horribly. Nobody wanted them down here. They only came down here because they got chased out of Nova Scotia. You notice none of the British people got chased out of any country they went and colonized, did you? But we were. No, I should hate everybody that's not French Canadian, right? As if y'all had anything to do with that. Anybody had anything to do with that. That's a whole generation, many generations ago. Thank God I can live here and have lived 81 years peacefully and protected. That's a blessing. Through all the wars, even the one that I was involved in, God kept me protected and kept me safe. Can I complain? No, I can't complain. I'm just grateful. Well, okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Questions? Sticks and stones? Better with the notes? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Share it with other people? I don't think I can do that Wednesday in Metairie. What would make sense to me to take one chapter out of Daniel and teach on that. It's going to be a little more complex when I get into that chapter in Daniel where we deal with I can't remember his name, Epiphanes, the king from Syria and the king from Egypt during the Greek occupation, which is why the book of Maccabees, the book of Judith, the book of Sirach, the book of Wisdom, the book of Judith, and the book of Baruch are not in your Bible because they were written in Greek. And at Council of Jamnia in 70 AD, the remnant of the Sanhedrin got together and took everything out of their Bible that was written in Greek. By that time, the Christian church adopted the existing Hebrew Bible vis-a-vis the Catholic Church until 12, whatever it was, when Martin Luther caused the separation. Martin Luther went to the then Hebrew Bible for the Old Testament, which did not have those books written in Greek. And all of that happened because of the misery they went through under these two kings. That's what's in that chapter. A lot of stuff in that chapter that's going to come to light. But enough said for now. Give me what chapter it is. Only 12 chapters in Daniel, so we own 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Only got 5 chapters left. Okay, questions? No questions? No nothing?